Okay, here's case 3, bond and stock valuation. Make sure you pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say, because a lot of students get confused about the questions and which bonds they're asking about, and I'll explain that as I get to it. Also on table 1, this face amount, don't worry about it, just cross it off. You don't need that information for what we're doing. We're going to price the bonds individually per bond, and this is the total amount of bonds that they have, so we don't need that. You really don't need this maturity year information that much. All 3 of these bonds were 30-year original maturity when issued, and they were issued 10 years apart. So as of now, this bond has 5 years left. This has 15, this has 25. So they refer to this as the 5-year bond, and this is the 15-year bond, and this is the 25-year bond. And you'll notice that when I go through the questions. Alright, some points on some of the questions. Make note of what date it is. This is, January 1st, 1993, so that's period 0. Okay, so when they ask later on about price of the bond next year or 1994, that's 1 year from now. And we're going to price our bonds on a semi-annual basis. That's why we're just doing A, C, and D. Part B does annual, so we're not doing that. We're pricing the bonds on a semi-annual basis, so we'll do part C. Make sure you answer both the questions in here too. On question 2, this is where it gets, you need to make some notes here. Once you do question 1, forget about it. Forget about the prices you got, because question 2 says, now regardless of your answers to 1, assume that the 5-year bond is selling for $800, the 15-year is selling for this, and the 25-year bond is selling for that. These will be a little bit different than the prices you got in question 1, but it wants you to use these prices in case you've got the ones in question 1 wrong. And then also use these prices and assume semi-annual coupons for the rest of the case. Okay, so from here on out, these are semi-annual coupons, which is what I had you do in question 1 also. But Part B here, it says what is the nominal as opposed to the effective annual yield to maturity. That is just asking what is the yield to maturity. The normal yield to maturity we calculate is the nominal yield to maturity. So don't let them calling it nominal and having this effective annual statement here confuse you. This is just yield to maturity like we did in class. And down here you find the effective annual yield to maturity based on the semi-annual coupon. Question 3 is going to introduce another bond, a second 25-year bond. So it wants you to compare this 25-year bond with the one up here. It's going to have a different coupon rate and a different price. So it wants you to get into how 25-year bonds or similar bonds of a company are going to end up yielding the same. So it goes through all these questions. What's the nominal yield? Again, that's just the yield to maturity. Current yield of each 25-year bond. So make sure you do these questions for the new 25-year bond they give you here and the 25-year bond up here, because they want you to compare the two. Okay. Question 4 is basically a concept question about interest rate risk and reinvestment rate risk. Define them up here. Say which bond in the table has the most interest rate risk. And now again, it's introducing separate bonds. These are not the 5, 15, and 25-year bonds from above. These are separate bonds, the 10% coupon, selling at their par value. And it wants you to show what happens when interest rates go up from 10% to 13%. What happens to the price of the bonds? And that's what it says. If you're using the spreadsheet model, calculate the new value. We don't have a spreadsheet model, but just calculate the new value of each bond, the new price when rates go from 10 to 13%.